Hey everybody, it's Brandon and welcome back to Ask a Fat Man, where we talk about the best tips, tricks, and methods to improve cooking even for the people who aren't that good in the kitchen. Um, Thanks for being so supportive of this segment, you guys. I am going to start doing some live cooking as a part of this segment. So we'll kind of talk about it, and then I'll kind of segue into me doing whatever it is that we're talking about. But this one is a good one, and it's called Butter is Your Friend. So a lot of people ask me all the time, say, hey man, I'm not comfortable cooking. I think it's a lot of work. What are some of the ways that I can increase my flavors and make something taste good even when I'm not knowing? And one of the best ways you can do it is the utilization of fat, in particular butter. Butter is my favorite. And the reason why I love butter is because it's so versatile. I have two main fats that I use in my kitchen. I use butter and I use bacon fat because bacon fat is awesome. Fat is good, guys. Fat is flavor. Fat is what makes stuff taste good. And it's so easy to get. So like if you want to get bacon fat and be able to utilize that, just the next time you make some bacon, just drain it into like a glass jar, seal it up, put it in the refrigerator. It'll get solid, and then you can spoon it out like you would butter or anything else. Toss it in the pan, heat it up. It's really awesome for eggs. It's really awesome as an accompaniment to sauces. One of my favorite things to do. Is I put a little bit of bacon fat. So I'll cook some ramen. Melt a little bit of the bacon fat in the pan. Because with the ramen, the seasoning packet adheres a little bit better with liquid. But I don't like eating it as soup. I like eating it like noodles, like anybody else that's cool in America. We eat the noodles, we don't eat the soup. Anyway, so I cook my noodles just a little bit underdone, and then I toss them in that bacon fat. And then I toss the seasoning packet in, and then I stir it up. And then that fat finishes cooking that pasta, and then you get that bacon flavor that just covers it and coats it, and oh man, I'm drooling over here. But bacon fat can be used to cover different things. Like I use them, like I said, for eggs. You can use it for dressings and things like that if you are making that kind of thing. I've melted it and poured it on stuff like popcorn. It's a very versatile fat, really good for frying vegetables, pork, and other kind of meat in it. I definitely recommend it. But then my favorite, as I was saying earlier, is butter. And butter just has a little bit more versatility. It's not as overpowering as the bacon fat, but you can use it in so much. So like I can take a jar thing of sauce like we talked about in the previous. I want to jazz it up, adding a few pats of butter to it. Adding a few pats of butter to anything can build a nice sauce. In fact, one of my favorite sauces is just cutting up like some diced tomato. You can even use canned tomato if you don't feel like doing it, although I do like the fresher tomato for that application. And I just toss it in with a little bit of butter, a little bit of salt, and I let the tomatoes cook down, and then I add a little bit more butter at the end, and you get that nice tomato butter that kind of melts together. And oh my god, y'all, it's so delicious. Put it over pork is what I like to put it over. I like to put it over pork chops and things like that. But it also can double as a sauce for pasta. Put it over rice, anything like that. But what's really cool about butter, so many people, they buy either margarine or these butter substitutes because they're worried that butter's too bad for you, and they want something that's easily spreadable. Well, not only is butter healthier for you than margarine, and a lot of doctors and scientists are coming out and saying that, but you don't need to buy any kind of special thing to substitute for butter. Get you a little butter dish. They're like $5 at Target. Put your butter in it. Leave it on the counter. And I know y'all are freaking out and like, oh my God, that's not safe. I've been eating my butter like that for 30 years, never had a problem. A lot of places in like Europe, like they don't bother to refrigerate it. As long as you're keeping it in that butter dish, which is airtight, you won't have any kind of issues. And then you can just peel it off, spread it on your toast for like grilled cheese or anything like that. Again, put that pat in any kind of sauce or anything like that. And butter is good on anything. It's good on popcorn. It's good on Pop-Tarts. Man, I will put butter like on my steak. Like I'll cook a steak and I'll put a little pat of butter on top of it. It's a really, really versatile and amazing fat. And if you ever want to feel and make somebody feel like you did something real special for them, you can take that butter that you kind of let sit out for a couple hours, get it to room temperature, and then sprinkle a little bit of herbs in it. Just kind of stir it up, roll it back up together, put it in the fridge, and you got a compound butter. So if you've ever looked at like restaurants where they'll say stuff like, hey, we have an herb butter for steak or anything like that, that's literally all it is. It's softened butter with a little bit of herbs added. Or if you like, hey man, I really like Texas Roadhouse because they have this amazing butter that just tastes so good with the rolls. All that is softened butter, a little bit of honey, a little bit of cinnamon, stir it up, and you have that nice, sweet, savory butter that's so good on rolls. But that's one of my main tricks, you guys, is utilizing the perfect fat whenever I'm cooking, because the fat adds flavor, and that means I don't have to second guess anything. And if you really think about it from that fat perspective, those are usually how you describe food. That's how you know it's good for you. So when you eat something, you immediately say, man, that tastes kind of buttery, right? It's buttery, it's delicious. We say, hey man, that tastes like bacon. It has that saltiness. So it's going to jazz it up with flavors that we already enjoy. So use more butter, use more fat. Fat is good, as you can see. Peace.